Today, your brain won't shut off about your relationship. You're replaying conversations from 3 days ago, analyzing text messages for hidden meaning, creating stories about things that haven't happened, questioning whether that pause before they answered meant something significant, wondering if you're reading too much into everything or if you're finally seeing what's been there all along. Your mind is spinning, not the fun kind of spinning, the exhausting kind, the kind where you can't tell the difference between intuition and anxiety, between seeing clearly and creating problems that don't exist, and you can't stop. You lie down, and the thoughts keep going. You try to focus on work, and the questions keep coming. You text a friend, and even as you're explaining it, you realize you sound crazy, but you can't help it because your mind will not let this go. This isn't you being dramatic. This isn't you being too much or overthinking again. This is the moon shifting from Leo into Virgo today, while Mercury, the planet of thoughts, communication, and mental processing, is retrograde in Pisces and building pressure. Tomorrow is the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, and your mind is trying to process everything that needs to be seen, analyzed, and understood before the eclipse reveals what's actually true. Today, you're not overthinking, you're pre-processing, your brain is doing eclipse prep work, and the only question is, can you think through your relationship without thinking yourself out of it? I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening today. Why Athena, the Greek goddess born from Zeus's head, shows us that overthinking isn't weakness, it's strategy. What moon shifting Leo to Virgo while Mercury retrograde builds pressure actually does, and why this creates mental overwhelm. Which 3 signs overthink the most intensely today, and what you need to do to think clearly without spiraling. Because today isn't about stopping the thoughts, it's about directing them. It's about using your mind as a tool instead of letting it use you as a weapon. Today, your thoughts are intense, and you're allowed to think without destroying what's real. Athena's strategy wasn't overthinking, it was thinking so precisely she never had to fight twice. Let me tell you about Athena. In Greek mythology, she's the goddess of wisdom and war. But here's the thing about Athena that makes her different from Ares, the god of chaotic battle. Ares charges in, Ares acts from impulse, Ares fights brutally and repeatedly. But Athena thinks first. She strategizes, she analyzes every angle, she considers every possibility, and then, only then does she act. And when she acts once, decisively, effectively. She doesn't have to fight the same battle twice because she thought it through completely the first time. Here's her origin story. Zeus swallows Metis, Athena's mother. While Metis is pregnant with Athena, he's afraid the prophecy that says his child will be greater than him, so he tries to prevent the birth. But you can't stop wisdom, you can't swallow strategy. Athena grows inside Zeus's head, and eventually Zeus gets the worst headache of his life. His head splits open, and Athena emerges, fully grown, fully armed, born directly from the mind of the king of gods. She's thought made flesh, strategy made real, wisdom that doesn't have to learn through failure because it was born from pure consciousness. Here's what makes Athena's mythology essential for understanding today. She's not spontaneous, she's not impulsive, she doesn't trust her first instinct. She thinks deeply, thoroughly, exhaustively, and people who don't understand her call it overthinking. They call it analysis paralysis. They call it being in your head too much. But Athena knows better, because every time she thought through every angle, she won. Every time she considered every possibility, she made the right choice. Every time she strategized instead of reacted, she avoided disaster. Today, your mind is in Athena mode. Today, you're thinking through everything because tomorrow's eclipse is going to reveal everything, and your brain is doing the work now, so you're prepared then. That's not overthinking, that's strategic preparation. That's Athena. What's actually happening, astrologically, and why your brain won't stop analyzing. Alright, let me break down what's happening because this is a perfect storm of mental intensity. First, the moon in Leo, all morning. Leo moon is heart-centered, dramatic, expressive, focused on feelings, creativity, being seen. It's the moon that says, I feel, therefore I am. But then today, the moon shifts into Virgo, and Virgo moon is completely different. Virgo moon is mind-centered, analytical, critical, focused on details, problems, what needs fixing. It's the moon that says, I analyze, therefore I understand. And when the moon shifts from Leo to Virgo, your internal processing shifts from emotional to mental. From how do I feel about this to what does this mean about this? Second, Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Mercury's been retrograde since February 26th, and in Pisces, where Mercury is in its fall, where it struggles to think clearly, Mercury retrograde creates mental fog, emotional confusion, difficulty distinguishing between intuition and fear. Your thoughts get blurry, your communication gets muddled, you're not sure if what you're thinking is accurate or if you're projecting. And normally, that's just frustrating. But when the moon shifts into Virgo, Mercury's sign, while Mercury is struggling in Pisces, your mind goes into overdrive trying to compensate. Virgo moon wants clarity. Mercury in Pisces can't provide it. So you think harder, analyze more, try to force precision out of fog. Third, tomorrow is the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 6:38 a.m. Eclipses reveal, they expose, they make visible what's been hidden, and your subconscious knows this. Your mind knows that tomorrow truth emerges. So today, your brain is preparing, it's running through scenarios, testing possibilities, questioning assumptions, not because you're crazy, because you're smart, because your mind is doing the pre-work, so you're not blindsided when the eclipse illuminates what needs to be seen. Here's what this looks like practically. Today, you're going to overthink your relationship, not a little, a lot. You're going to replay conversations, analyze their tone, question whether they meant what they said or said what they meant. You're going to notice small things, how long it took them to text back, what they prioritized over you, whether they seemed fully present or slightly distant. And you're going to create stories. Maybe they're losing interest. Maybe I'm too much. Maybe they're seeing someone else. Maybe I'm not enough. And the stories will feel true because your Virgo moon is excellent at finding evidence for any narrative your mind creates. That's the danger. That's what you need to watch. Virgo, your ruling planet is retrograde and you're trying to think your way to certainty that doesn't exist. If you're a Virgo sun, moon or rising, today is your day of maximum mental intensity. Tomorrow's full moon eclipse is in your sign. Mercury, your ruling planet, is retrograde. The moon shifts into your sign today, and your mind is in overdrive trying to make sense of everything before the eclipse reveals what's actually true. But here's the problem. You're trying to think your way to certainty, and certainty doesn't come from thinking, it comes from seeing, and you can't see yet. The eclipse is tomorrow, so today you're stuck in mental loop, analyzing without resolution, questioning without answers, overthinking without clarity. Here's what specifically happens for Virgo today. You notice everything, every inconsistency in your partner's behavior, every time their words don't match their actions, every moment they seemed slightly off, and you catalogue it. You create a mental file, you build a case, not because you want to end the relationship, because you want to understand it. You want to see it clearly. You want to know if your concerns are valid, or if you're creating problems that don't exist. But the more you think, the less clear it becomes, because thinking without new information just creates more questions, more analysis, more mental spinning. Here's your specific work for today. Morning, write down your 3 biggest relationship questions. Don't answer them, just write them. Afternoon, for every negative thought you have, force yourself to think one neutral alternative. They're pulling away becomes they might just be busy. Questioning without balance creates spiraling. Evening, stop thinking. Seriously, after 7 p.m., no more relationship analysis. Watch something mindless. Move your body. Do anything that gets you out of your head, because you can't think your way to tomorrow's answers. You have to wait for the eclipse to show you. Today, Virgo, your mind is trying to protect you by predicting every outcome. But protection doesn't come from prediction, it comes from presence. Today, you practice thinking without spiraling, analyzing without catastrophizing, noticing without judging. That's how you use your Virgo mind as a tool instead of letting it become a weapon. That's the work. That's the test. That's how you stop overthinking and start preparing wisely. Gemini, Mercury retrograde is hitting both your signs and you can't trust your own thoughts. Now, Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Rising, Mercury is your ruling planet too. And when Mercury is retrograde in Pisces, your opposite sign, while the Moon shifts into Virgo, Mercury's other sign, you're caught in mental crossfire. Your natural Gemini mind wants information, clarity, communication, but Mercury in Pisces is giving you fog, confusion, emotional static, and the Virgo Moon is demanding you analyze everything. So you're thinking constantly, but nothing's making sense. Your thoughts contradict themselves, your feelings oppose your logic, and you can't trust whether what you're thinking is accurate, or if your retrograde Mercury is just creating mental chaos. Here's what specifically happens for Gemini today. You have a thought about your relationship. 2 minutes later, you have the opposite thought. They love me. No, they're pulling away. No, I'm projecting. No, my intuition is right. Back and forth, and you can't land anywhere. You can't settle on one interpretation because your Mercury is retrograde and can't provide the mental clarity you rely on. So you keep thinking, keep analyzing, keep trying to figure it out. And the more you think, the more confused you get, because thinking without reliable information just creates more questions. Here's your specific work for today. Morning, voice memo your thoughts. Don't text them, don't act on them, just speak them out loud to yourself. Sometimes hearing your own voice reveals which thoughts are real and which are mental noise. Afternoon, call someone, not to complain about your relationship, just to talk. Get out of your head by connecting to someone else's reality. Evening, write a letter to your partner you won't send. Say everything you're thinking, everything you're questioning, everything you're afraid of. Get it out, then destroy it. Because today, your thoughts need expression, not action. Today, Gemini, your mind is working overtime, but it's not working accurately. Mercury retrograde means you can't trust your first thought, your second thought, or your 10th thought. Today, you practice observing your thoughts without believing all of them. Today, you notice the mental spiral without following it all the way down. Today, you think without deciding, because tomorrow the eclipse will show you what's actually true, and then you can act from clarity instead of confusion. Pisces, Mercury retrograde is in your sign, and you can't tell the difference between intuition and fear. Okay, Pisces, Sun, Moon, or Rising, Mercury is retrograde in your sign, and for you, that's particularly confusing because Pisces operates through feeling, intuition, and subtle sensing. You don't think linearly, you sense holistically. You feel your way to truth. But when Mercury is retrograde in your sign, while the Virgo moon demands logical analysis, you're caught between two completely different ways of knowing. Your Pisces intuition says one thing, your Virgo mind says another, and you can't tell which one is accurate. Here's what specifically happens for Pisces today. You feel something's off in your relationship. You can't name it. You can't point to evidence, but you feel it. And the Virgo moon says, that's not enough. You need proof. You need logic. You need clear reasons. So you start analyzing, trying to make sense of the feeling, creating explanations for the sensation. And the more you try to think through what you're feeling, the less clear it becomes. Because you're trying to use logic to understand something that exists beyond logic. You're trying to think your way through something you need to just feel. Here's your specific work for today. Morning, check in with your body. Where do you feel the relationship concern? Chest, stomach, throat? Physical sensation is more reliable than mental story today. Afternoon, distinguish between intuition and fear. Intuition feels calm even when it's uncomfortable. Fear feels agitated. If you're spiraling, it's fear. If you're certain but sad, it's intuition. Evening, let it be unclear. You don't need to know everything today. Tomorrow's eclipse will reveal what needs to be seen. Today, you just need to not destroy anything based on unclear thoughts. Today, Pisces, you're trying to think your way to clarity in a sign that doesn't think. It feels. Today, you practice trusting the feeling without needing to explain it. Today, you let yourself be confused without making it mean something catastrophic. Today, you wait, because overthinking isn't the same as understanding, and sometimes the wisest thing you can do is stop trying to figure it out and just let the answer come to you. The protocol, and why thinking is only useful when it leads to wisdom, not worry. Alright, let me give you the protocol for today, because here's the truth about overthinking. It's not inherently bad. Thinking deeply, analyzing thoroughly, considering multiple perspectives, that's strategy. That's wisdom, that's Athena. But thinking in circles, creating worst-case scenarios, analyzing without new information, that's just mental torture. That's not strategy, that's suffering. And the difference is direction. A strategic thinking leads somewhere. Spiral thinking just loops. Today, your work is directing your thoughts toward wisdom instead of letting them spiral toward worry. First, set a timer for thinking time. Give yourself 20 minutes to think about your relationship. Write everything down, every concern, every question, every fear. Get it all out. But when the timer goes off, you're done. No more relationship analysis until tomorrow. This creates containment. It lets your mind do its work without letting it take over your whole day. Second, for every fear-based thought, create one evidence-based counter-thought. They're losing interest, plus they texted me this morning. I'm too much, plus they chose to be with me. You don't have to believe the counter-thought. You just have to create it. This trains your brain to look for balance instead of only finding problems. Third, distinguish between problems you can solve now and problems you need to wait on. Can you have a conversation today that would provide clarity? Then have it. But if you're analyzing something you can't act on until you have more information, stop. Put it in the mental wait file. Tomorrow's eclipse provides information. Today, you just hold space. Fourth, move your body. When your mind spirals, physicality stops it. Walk, dance, stretch. Do anything that gets you out of your head and into your body. Physical movement literally changes your brain chemistry. It interrupts mental loops. Use it. And fifth, tonight, before the eclipse tomorrow, write down 3 things you know for sure about your relationship. Not feelings, not interpretations, facts. They show up when they say they will. They make time for me. They communicate when there's conflict. Ground yourself in what's actually real before tomorrow's eclipse shows you what needs to change. Because not everything is a problem. Sometimes your mind just needs something to do. Alright, today the moon shifts from Leo into Virgo while Mercury Retrograde builds pressure, and tomorrow's full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo prepares to reveal truth. And your mind goes into overdrive, analyzing, questioning, overthinking, not because you're broken, because you're Athena, because you're strategizing, because your brain is doing pre-work so you're prepared when the eclipse illuminates what's been hidden. Do the protocol. Set a thinking timer, create counter-thoughts, distinguish between problems you can solve and problems you wait on. Move your body, ground in facts. This is how you think without destroying. This is how you analyze without spiraling. This is how you use your mind as a tool for wisdom instead of letting it become a weapon of worry. Today, you think deeply. Tomorrow, the eclipse shows you truth. And then you act from clarity instead of confusion. Your mind is powerful. Today, you learn to direct it.